2 stories that will change your life forever. The first one is the right way to forgive someone. One day, Buddha went to a village with his disciples. Hearing Buddha's visit, many villagers turned out to seek his blessings. Everyone knew about the wisdom of the Buddha. However, there was one businessman who used to manage a company with his kids. The man didn't like the Buddha at all. He thought Buddha was doing something wrong by simply drawing his children and other people in the village to meditate without doing anything. And he believed it was a complete waste of time to spend time simply gazing at Buddha, whose eyes were always closed. He felt his children should assist him in growing his company instead. He decided that today he will teach him a lesson. He approached Buddha in a furious manner. He got more angry with each step he took closer to him. He was unable to verbalize his feelings because he was at a loss for words. So he strikes Buddha in the face. Buddha smiled back at him in response. His followers and the villagers were angry with the businessman after seeing this. But since Buddha was around, they kept their emotions in check and remained silent. The businessman observed that no one in his immediate surroundings had reacted to his action. He then thought, if I stay here any longer, I'll blow up again. As a result, he left the area. He left and went back home. All he could do was think about a smiling Buddha. For the first time in his life, he encountered someone who had emotional self-control during an offensive act. He tried to fall asleep, but had trouble doing so the entire night. He was trembling. The businessman felt as though something was happening to him, and that everything in the world had changed. He could not believe how the Buddha did not react to him. He had never seen anything like this before. He felt ashamed of his act and could not understand what was going on. The next day, he visited Buddha and knelt at his feet, pleading with him to forgive him for what he had done. Buddha's response was, I cannot forgive you. When Buddha responded, his followers and the villagers were in disbelief. Buddha used to forgive everyone, regardless of their past, because he has always been compassionate. He is now claiming that he could not justify the businessman's behavior. To everyone's surprise, he said, why should I forgive you when you have not done anything? The businessman replied, it was me who slapped your face yesterday. To that, the Buddha replied, no, you did not slap me. You are not the same person. However, I'll ask him to forgive you if I ever run into the person you slapped yesterday. Then the Buddha said, now to the person here in this moment, you are wonderful, and you have not done anything wrong. The morale of the story is that genuine forgiveness requires more than simply saying, I forgive you. The person we forgive should never know that we did so. They shouldn't ever feel any remorse for their error. Instead, our continued reminders of their error and our forgiveness will only serve to make them feel guilty. Then the forgiveness is not genuine. It is a penalty. So, if you forgive someone, forgive them with all your heart and give them a fair chance to prove their worth. The second story is about how to not let anyone control your emotions. Buddha and his followers never remain in one spot for an extended period of time. Since they rely on the villagers for their food, they understand that this will be a burden for them. One day, Buddha visited a small village he had never been to before. He used his begging bowl to knock on the door of one of the village homes. After a while, a woman showed up. When she noticed a monk holding a begging bowl, she became angry. The Buddha was abused by the lady, who said, you seem healthy enough to work. Instead, you prefer to eat without having to work. Do you have some shame? And she continued to abuse him. The Buddha, however, continued to smile as she spoke, waiting for her to finish before responding. She took a breath and stopped. She then inquired as to why was he still smiling. You are allowed to speak. Just say something. Buddha asked the lady, If someone offers someone something and it is not accepted, to whom does it belong then? To which the lady replied, I do not understand what you are saying. I have nothing to offer you. Just leave my property now. Buddha gently replied, Mother, from the time I met you, you have just been offering me with whatever you had. Isn't that right? Buddha was making a reference to the mistreatment, and the lady quickly realized that. She asked, So, the question you have is, to whom does the offer belong if it is not accepted? Buddha returned a smile. Soon, the lady understood her mistake and asked the Buddha for forgiveness. Buddha then said, As a mirror reflects an object in the way the lake reflects the sky, take care of what you speak and how you act, as it is always a reflection of how you will appear to people. For every act of goodness you perform, you will always receive an equal amount of goodness in return. Moved by the Buddha's word, she bought some food for Buddha and thanked him. After thanking her, Buddha carried on with his journey. The morale of the story is to never allow anyone to use their rage and words to control or empower you. Instead, reflect on them by acting as the mirror. Be mindful and be in charge of your feelings. You can avoid being influenced by anyone if you can control yourself. Please note that the only one who would get impacted by the negativity is the person spreading it. And always remember that you will get the same in return for anything you give to others.